What's up, my wizards? It's Dev. From Mtg, we like magic, and today I, amazingly, somewhat surprisingly, have two Rivals of Ixalan spoilers for you already, like way before the set comes out. And yeah, these have been out for a couple of days, but I've taken my time on bringing this one to you because I wanted to specifically mess around with one of these cards. But let me talk about both of them here, starting with Silvergill Adept. Well, Silvergill is actually a reprint from one of my favorite sets of all time, Lorwyn. Loved this card back in the day, and I'm probably going to like it even more nowadays, where it's going to fit really well in Merfolk Tribal, and it needed a piece like this. This is essentially a 2-mana 2/1. When you cast it, you're either going to pay 3 extra for it, or you're going to reveal a Merfolk from your hand, and then when it actually enters the battlefield, you draw a card off of it. So 2-mana 2/1, draw a card, as long as you have another Merfolk in your hand, is a great deal. Well, probably the most common comment that I've seen about this card so far is that it's not enough, which I think is a really silly way to think, because there's a whole set. Aside from the 2 cards that we've seen from Rivals, there's like way more cards. So I think that Silvergill is a really good start, and kind of a good indicator that there's going to be more tribal support for Merfolk in the next set. I mean, we all knew there were going to be more Merfolk, obviously, in Rivals, but I think this is a good indicator that we'll get some more quality. Now, all we really need after this is some kind of Merfolk Lord. That would be really awesome. But again, fantastic start. You know, 2-mana, 2-power body that draws you a card is amazing. Here's the Big Daddy Dino right here. This is Ghalta Primal Hunger, and this is why I took so long to make this video, so I wanted to mess around with this card. It's essentially a 12 mana, but it's not really 12 mana. That's 10 and 2 green, 12/12 legendary elder dinosaur with trample, and it costs X less to cast, where X is the total power of creatures that you control. Well, my reaction to this card, and in some ways other people's reactions to this card, really made me want to take a couple of days with it and mess around and see what we could come up with. I've seen a lot of ways that people want to break this. You know, obviously the most common thing that people want to do to it is play it in dinosaurs, because that makes sense, right? But there's cool stuff you can do. You can always go like turn 2 Drover the Mighty, turn 3 Ripjaw Raptor, and then turn 4 you can go ahead and play this. And in fact, a lot of the stuff that I've seen involving sort of breaking this card involves playing it on turn 4, but I actually think that's a turn too slow. There's plenty of decks that can play it on turn 4. Like another thing that I've seen is Winding Constrictor. You know, you put it in the Snake deck, and then it goes really well with stuff like Rishkar, you know, Verdurous Gearhulk and stuff. You can play it, you know, relatively early in that deck, especially if you get a Rishkar on turn 3, then suddenly all your guys help tap for mana and have high power. So it's like Rishkar is really good with this. But I actually think that there's a way to get this into play on turn 3 relatively easily, like not Christmas Land. Now, in just a second, I'm going to show you an extremely preliminary deck list that I'm working on right now. But let me go ahead and just show you the most reliable way to get Ghalta on turn 3. I've been able to do it a bunch of times so far. All you got to do is turn 1 Toolcraft Exemplar or an Old Growth Triads, and you'll play 4 copies of both of them in your deck. So it's not like that's going to be too tough. And then turn 2, you can play a Heart of Kirin. Then turn 3, you'll play either, again, another Toolcraft or another Old Growth or whatever, you know, mix and match. And at that point, you can just crew the Heart of Kirin, and then second main phase, drop a Ghalta for just 2 green mana, because you've got 10 power on the board. Now, here's the list that I'm working on right now, and I've already told you about Toolcraft, I've already told you about OG Dryads. You know, those are kind of obvious. You want to get those as early as possible. They're the only ways of getting like a 3-power, 1-mana guy that you can go ahead and get on turn 1. And get that Ghalta down as soon as possible. So I think they're no-brainers. I think that the Elephant is not quite as good for the deck, but again, it's a 3-power 1-drop that you usually get on turn 2 or turn 3. So I think that it has a chance of being in the deck, but everything else actually interacts really, really well with Ghalta. So let me run through that real quick. Specifically vehicles, let me talk about those for a second. Obviously vehicles are awesome because they usually cost less than their power level would dictate, because you have to crew them with creatures. But once you've crewed a vehicle, then that's, you know, whatever power you use to crew it plus the power of the vehicle itself. So vehicles are obviously really good for casting Ghalta. Heart of Kirin I've already talked about. That's the best vehicle in Standard, very likely. But you've got other options, you know. Cultivator's Caravan I really, really like, actually, because Cultivator's Caravan, once you get it crewed, that's at least 9 mana towards a Ghalta, because it can tap for a mana, it's 5 power towards it, and then whatever the 3-power thing you use to crew it is. So just 1 Cultivator's Caravan and a creature to crew it can let you play a Ghalta super, super quick with just really 2 creatures out. So that's awesome. And then Consulate Dreadnought is something that's a little weird, and it probably really shouldn't be 4 copies, but I like to just like put 4 copies of every card I really, really want to test with into a deck first before I start, like, you know, knocking off copies or just cutting cards completely. I like to play as many 4-ofs as possible before I start cutting cards. That's why there's 4 Consulate Dreadnought in this list. But it's relatively easy with all of our, you know, 3-power 1-drops to get a Consulate Dreadnought crewed. If we can, then it's a decent attacker by itself, obviously. And all of that is way more than enough power to cast a Ghalta for just 2 mana. You know, if we can somehow manage to get a Consulate Dreadnought crewed, then that's like 13 right there. So that's all 10 of the mana that we can knock off of a Ghalta. So that's pretty awesome right there. I think Consulate Dreadnought's at least worth talking about. As far as the other stuff in the deck, though, I should really point out Ronis. Ronis is cool because he's only 3 mana for, you know, getting 5 mana off of playing a Ghalta. That's a pretty sweet deal right there. As a matter of fact, if you have a creature that's big enough to let Ronis swing in, then that's at least 9 mana right there, you know, off of Ghalta. So that's pretty cool. And obviously, once you have Ghalta down, it doesn't matter if you have any other creatures out at all, the Ronis can swing. And obviously Glorybound Initiate in this deck too, just because it's a 2 mana 4-power guy, and we don't have a whole lot of those in Standard right now. We could also use like Voltaic Brawler if we wanted to add red to the deck and then play Ghalta second main phase. Same thing with this, although I like it because, same thing with Voltaic Brawler, by the way, I should point this out, that it's a 2 mana 3-power guy, and we need to play those if we possibly can. I just like that it can get an extra boost to power and keep you in the game if you need a couple of extra turns to cast Ghalta. So I think that's cool too. So don't count Ghalta out yet, you know. Again, there's a whole set around this guy, and there's probably going to be more pieces that help us cast him as early as possible. Anything that helps us cast him on turn 3, I'm very interested in. And the most common thing that I've heard about this card on the internet is that it's a win more, and it's not good enough, and Carnage Tyrant is better, blah, blah, blah. But Carnage Tyrant can't come down on turn 3, and this can, so that, you know, there's that. It's also really, really good against tokens, but I guess Carnage Tyrant is too, you know. Just any wide board that you're trying to bust through. Like, I could see it being pretty good against Temur Energy or any energy deck for that matter. So I really actually like the card. From what I can glean, a lot of people, at least the spikes especially, don't like this card, you know. It's just, it's not that it's not good enough. It's just that it's kind of win-more-y, you know. If you're in the position where you can cast this for cheap, you're probably already winning, and I could understand that. But in decks that are specifically designed to cast it on turn 3 or as early as possible, I think it's definitely worth giving a shot because 12-12 on turn 3, especially on the play, just put your opponent in like an unwinnable position unless they have like walk the plank. So, I mean, that's one of the only things. I mean, it's, you know, especially if you're on the play, they're not going to get to settle the record, your cast out of Vraska's Contempt or Ixalan's Binding or whatever they're trying to get to. So, I mean, especially if you're on the play, you can just win the game. So there you have it. Those are all 2 of our Rivals of Ixalan spoilers. I'm not really sure why Wizards saw it fit to go ahead and show us 2 cards this early. You know, that's not going to come out for a while, but I'll take it. I'm happy with it. These are cool cards. I'm kind of hyped for Ghalta, you know. So let me know down there in the comment section if I missed anything. And yeah, I know that there's like Regisaur Alpha is something a lot of people are pointing out. And I already said Verder's Gearhulk, but those are like 5 mana. I'm interested in stuff that helps us cast it on like turn 3. So let me know if I missed anything down there in the comment section, and let me know how you feel about these 2 cards. You should also really consider subscribing if you haven't done that yet. I'm getting really close to like 70,000 subs, and I want to hit it really, really bad. I want to hit 100, so you know, sub if you haven't done that yet, because there's a lot of deck tech content coming up in Ixalan Standard that I haven't put out yet, like a lot of it. There's also going to obviously be Rival spoilers coming up here in the next month or so. There's going to be Unstable spoilers coming up in the next month or so, and I've got exclusive previews for Unstable, multiple exclusive previews for Unstable. So if you haven't subbed yet, make sure you do that, because there's a lot of important information coming down the pipeline very soon here, and you want to make sure you get that. So sub, hit the bell for the notifications, like the video if you enjoyed the video, follow me on Twitter at SBMTGDev, or if you really want to, you can kick me $1 on Patreon at patreon.com/SBMTG. And remember, this video is also brought to you in part by TCGplayer.com. They're my buddies. And you can go ahead and get some of these cards from this video from TCG Player. You know, Silvergill Adept is, again, a reprint, and it's relatively important in Modern Merfolk. So if you want to, you can go ahead and get the copies of that card with way better art. And honestly, I like playing older versions of standard cards anyway. And you can get Silvergill for like $2.25 right now. from Lorwyn. And again, I like the art way better. I like the aesthetic of Lorwyn a lot. So you can go ahead and pick that up. Or, also importantly, you can go ahead and pick up Old Growth Dryads for like 25 cents. They're like a quarter a piece on TCG Player. I know they're much maligned, but with the advent of Ghalta, these could actually be really important in Rivals standards. So you might want to go ahead and pick up your copies, especially if you're interested in building around Ghalta. It may be important. I'll leave a link in the description for that one, but for now, I think I'm done. If I sound a little like, this video, it's because I am. I think I'm re-sick. I think my wife and I are just passing this back and forth to one another because I was sick and then she was sick and now I'm getting sick again. So, but don't worry, it's not going to deter me from doing videos. I love making content for you guys and I love doing stuff. Got a bunch of decks that are coming up in the next week here, so make sure you stay tuned for the channel. I may be a little under the weather, but I'm not. It's not going to stop me. So do all the stuff, sub if you're new, blah, 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 and I will catch you cats later. I'm Dev from The Place. Thanks for watching, my wizards.